I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday, when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone.
Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarty. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. Yes, friends, we certainly are. And today we're going to talk again about full disclosure, and that's not partial disclosure. Don't be distracted by the mainstream media that just tries to make you think about things that don't make any sense or don't matter. Keep your eye on the prize. We need to get this information out so we can get this thing rolling. It looks like we got our caller, Jake Waters, is back. And so let's see what he has to say. Welcome, Mr. Waters. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, Aaron. How are you doing?
Well, if I was doing any better, I'd be you, as usual. And I had the pleasure of watching your show, Mr. Waters, with my friend Miguel Pena. Is that how you pronounce his last name? I always forget how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, he's I guess he's going by Michael. But I've been trying to start up some sort of podcast where basically I just like interviewing people, and I like hearing their stories and what they have to talk about. And Michael's got a lot to talk about, and I like hearing his views on things. So for today's podcast, you had me at time travel. So I was interested in talking about some time travel if you guys had anything on the plate.
Yeah, well, did you see my episode with RatX and 1010 a while back?
I don't know if I did.
So RatX is the ultra neutral. He's got this channel where he talks about how he thinks that there was a time hack in 1972, and that all these things happened in 1972 that affected 2020. And so he was, talking about he'd like to come on and maybe discuss this with one of his detractors, someone who says, well, because one of the things that ended in 1972 was the moon landings. Well, this gentleman said, well, we didn't go to the moon. He thinks that we didn't go to the moon. So then he can't grasp what RatX was saying was, it doesn't matter if we went to the moon or not. It's just that they said publicly they stopped in 72. So it made it on his list of things that happened in 1972. But so this guy wants to argue the moon thing. But I think that faked moon landing it's a convenient psyop to get people arguing about something that doesn't really matter, like flat Earth. It doesn't really matter, but it's people get all emotional, and they don't want to be wrong. And the thing is, none of us has every answer. So
yeah, it's stranger that they would come out to the conclusion that they were right more than anything, with nobody really having a total grasp on what we've done on the moon, or the full aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, the Kubrick film kind of confused people, but it doesn't diminish anything that our astronauts did.
And maybe RatX might be calling in, so we got to watch out for that. And it's the ultra neutral himself, Mr. Ultra Neutral. Now, he doesn't take sides. He's Mr. Neutral, okay? So get used to that. He's just trying to wake people up to the time hack that he's discovered. How 1972, things that happened in 1972 came into play in 2020. It's a 48-year span. Okay. Are you there, Rat? He's right. He's connecting his audio. Okay. RatX. Cool name. Of course, 1972 was the year of the rat, too. Right? I think RatX told me that.
I think RatX is also, I've heard of that term as like a memory forget pill, like to like retcon somebody or to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hey, how you guys doing?
Great, and thank you for your donations. Very well appreciated.
I haven't given you enough. More coming. More coming.
I always want my shows to be free, and I'm not begging for anything. And if you can't afford something, don't do it. But if you have some extra money and you want to throw it my way, give me a cup of coffee. That's fine. Helps me.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. So I enjoy your content. I like listening to what you got to say.
Thanks. Now, we talked this afternoon, and we're talking about 1972 and 2020 and how things happened in 72 that affected 2020. Anthony Fauci started his job in 1972, and of course in 2020 it was very well known. But I said, well, I'm not sure if there's a time hack because a lot of things can happen in a year. Maybe someone could take 2 other years and see if they find the same correlations. And you said, well, no one's taken me up on that. So I did, Rat.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. So I thought, well, what year should I pick? And I thought, well, why don't I go 48 years prior to 1972? And we got 1924. Okay. So in 1924, Ace Hardware started.
Mm-hmm. So how would Ace Hardware be a historical event?
I don't know. I've only had a chance to research a couple of these.
Because somebody told.
I did find. Okay, one of them I did find a connection. All right, I just wanted to go through this list of things.
Okay, because somebody told me about Hobby Lobby 1972, and I said, yeah, that's cool, but it's not a historical event.
Right.
Hobby Lobby was founded.
Okay, I'll skip down to the fourth one. British Airways started in 1924. Okay, in 1976, we had the most tragic air accident in British Airways history, even today. 119 people died in 1972. So there's a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Crashed shortly after takeoff. I haven't had a whole lot of time to... here's one. Now, what sports figure were we talking about? What did I mention? We were talking about football. What sports person did I mention?
I think you said Joe Namath, didn't you?
Yeah. I got a Joe Namath one for you.
Okay.
In 1924, now this doesn't have anything to do with Joe Namath, but sort of. It does actually. 1924, Puma started, the shoe manufacturer. I think it's a German company, Puma.
Mm-hmm.
Puma, however you want to say it. Okay. In 1972, Joe Namath was in an ad, a famous ad for Pumas. Joe Namath scores. So, and Puma also were the shoes worn by 4 different gold medalists in the Munich Olympics. So.
Okay. Yeah. We're the 1972 Munich Olympics. That terrorist act that happened changed the Olympics forever. It was a historical thing that happened. Not only was it a historical thing because of the terrorist event, but it also was a historical event because because of the previous time that they had the Olympics there was under Hitler's rule. So it was actually dubbed in 1972 that Olympics as a collection of peace or something to do with some type of peace. And just so happens there was a group called the Black September, and they kidnapped 11 Israelis and murdered them. So September 11th. So the Black September murdered 11 people in 1972, which was the same year that the first Twin Tower was created. And it was a historical event because it was the tallest tower in the world that year. So what are the odds that those things, we're talking massive historical events. We're not talking like small things. Like when you're talking about Joe Namath, I mean, in 1972, what did he do that was really like a historical thing for the sport itself? When I say in football history, if you look at football history, 1972 was the only time in history that there was an undefeated football team, and that was the Miami Dolphins, which incidentally was the same year that they passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act. I mean, it's just these things are so intertwined. And the Lakers, the LA Lakers for basketball, had the longest streak in NBA history. That was in 1972. And Bob Douglas became the first black man to be elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1972. Why did it take that long for them to realize that black people were good at basketball? That just doesn't make any sense. These things don't make sense. That's what I'm saying. There's so many historical things that were crammed in 1 year. It just doesn't even make sense. I'm saying that these things did not happen in that 1 year, that they happened throughout different years. But because they're all pushed in 1 year, it makes it suspect that something else happened there. Bernice Greer was the first female umpire ever in professional baseball history to play in a men's league. So the first woman to play in a men's baseball league was in 1972. It's just bizarre. Like, the sports itself, if you look up the greatest year in Canadian history, it says 1972, and it talks about their freaking their hockey team. It's like all the sports were even affected, and obviously the Olympics was affected because they said after the Munich attack, the Olympics changed forever. Like the security changed at that very moment. After the terrorist attacks that were happening in 1972, pre-1972, actually during 1972, you literally could get on a plane without any identification and without them checking your bags. You could just get on the freaking plane. You say, here's my money, and you get on the plane. You get on there with hand grenades, which actually happened. And they just get in there and do whatever and hijack the planes. There were so many hijackings in 1972. It was absurd. After 1972, actually towards the end of 1972, they changed the laws for the FFA changed, and they said we're going to start checking people's IDs. We're going to start checking their bags. So they waited till 1972 to do that. That's another thing that just doesn't make sense. These are major historical things that are happening in 1972. Major. We're not talking light. We're talking major.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, going back 48 years before 1972, so I was thinking, okay, I'll just pick this and maybe it'll debunk him. And as I was looking at it, this might actually reinforce him, because if there's connections, it might be a 48-year cycle each time. I mean, maybe that's what they do. So in France, in 1924, was the very first Winter Olympics, another Olympic thing in 1924. Now, like I said, I didn't have a chance to look at Winter Olympics in 1972, but you just mentioned one Olympic event in 1972. Maybe it wasn't.
But since we're talking about winter, and I don't want to cut you off, but I want to go back to, because we're talking about winter. Everybody knows the story about the plane that crashed in the Andes where people were actually eating the bodies. There was a big major movie called Alive. Almost everybody knows that movie. That
Right.
happened in the year 1972. Now, let me tell you something. In 1972, when that plane that went down, it was the number was 571. That was the plane. It was the same number of the plane that Netanyahu became famous on when he stopped on a different plane, but the same plane number, 571, where he became famous in 1972 because he stopped a terrorist attack when he was on a special Israeli forces. Now, if you take all of that and the fact of 9/11, or the fact of the tower being built in 1972, what was the number of the plane that hit the tower? In reverse, 175. I mean, these things are major. We're not talking small. We're talking world-changing events. We can agree that all of those things are world-changing events. The Olympics, the tower, the whole thing, even with the cannibalism that happened there, that was a huge thing. And there was a guy. His name was Hale Boggs, and Hale Boggs was we talked about this before. He was the House Majority Leader. He'd be considered like Chuck Schumer or what the hell is the other guy's name? But anyhow, he disappeared in a plane going over in Alaska, and they like don't talk about that at all. Like they don't talk about it. He was the House Majority Leader, and he just disappeared in a plane in 1972 in a Cessna.
Wow.
The plane went down, they found the plane, and all of the bodies were gone. There was nobody there. And the government does not talk about this. If Chuck Schumer, or what's the other guy's name? God dang it. Mitch McConnell. If Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell disappeared right now today in a plane, it would be major news. We can agree on that. That would be major. That happened in the year 1972, and it got quiet. All they talk about was his wife took his place when he disappeared. No bodies, nothing.
Has to be an inside job or something, right?
Yeah, but you look at it and you put it with all of the other stuff in the box, man. There's a ton of it. You know, there's just a bunch. I mean, just like I just ran through the sports, and then we just went on to aviation, which, by the way, 1972 was dubbed the worst year in commercial aviation history. I mean, it's bizarre. It should not even be possible for all those things to add up in that year. And it's the same. Go ahead.
And the British Airways, 119 people, worst accident in their history, 1972, and they started in 1924, 48 years earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense. That may be a connection there, like you're saying. You know, it could be a 48-year thing. Every 48 years, there's something that happens in the timeline. And I don't care what people say that, you know, all these people that believe that they're experts on timelines. It's like, well, you show me evidence that you can actually time travel, whatever. You know, look, we're talking about stuff that is beyond most people's understanding, period. And screwing with the timeline is one of those things. People all speculate, but screwing with the timeline is not. I just it's absurd. And you when you look at the evidence, and you heard me talking about this today, and I said I'm getting tired of telling people. I'm getting tired of sharing the evidence because it's like it's not getting through. But it's
getting through.
It's like it's all right there. Like there's so much of it. Man, I am over 80 events, 80 major changing events in 1972. Hell, even just like cell phones. Cell phones were invented in 1973, which means 1972 was the last year on this planet. There were no cell phones. So 1972 was the last year that we were cell phone clear. After that, 1973 was when the first mobile phone was created. And I know you're talking about Elvis and his phone back in 60. What was it? Was it 60? 63. Yeah. That's different than the mobile phone, though.
Bag phone, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
and when you look at cell phones, and I don't want to cut you up, but when you look at cell phones, one of the biggest cell phones is iPhone. Isn't that from Microsoft? I mean, that's Bill Gates, his first company. Which
iPhone is Apple.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I have an iPhone, and my daughter gave it to me.
Apple. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not so versed on technology. So I went on and they have these things called apps. You put an app on it. So I got the Google app and it said it's going to turn my iPhone into a Google iPhone. But I can't see anywhere where it's a Google iPhone. Let's see. Yeah, that's my Google eye joke. Now, Delta Airlines also started in 1924. Let me just go down this list of things in 1924.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
See if anything kind of lines up. Ace Hardware, Aris, formerly Electrolux Vacuums, Bendix, they make auto brakes, British Airwaves, we talked about that. BTR, British Multinational Industrial Conglomerate, that sounds suspicious. An air conditioning company, Daikin, started then. Delta Airlines started, MG Cars started that year. Milwaukee Electrical Corporation, MCA, Music and Film, started that year, 1924. Puma Shoes, Tomy Toys in Japan, big toy company. Total SA Petroleum, that's Super America. Ventura Bus Line, Woolworths. Also, in 1924, they passed the Indian Citizenship Act, where American Indians didn't have to give up their Indian citizenship to become an American citizen. It was the first year, the electrocardiogram was invented, and the inventor won the Nobel Peace, some big prize. The first Thanksgiving Day parade in Macy's in New York, 1924, and I'm sure there might have been some Macy's Day parade event that happened in 1872. I didn't check that. The first Winter Olympics. Edwin Hubble. Okay. He said that the Andromedan Nebula. He discovered that the Andromedan Nebula is actually a galaxy. So he made that discovery. And of course, we know Hubble.
Hubble telescope. Yeah.
Right. In the USA, the first dawn to dusk transcontinental flight. Let's see. And Winter Olympics. First USA Army airplane made the first round the world flight in 1924. And let's see. Hoof and mouth disease started or was noticed in 1924. There's a disease, hoof and mouth. And Lenin died in Russia, and Stalin began his bid for leadership in 1924. So I was surprised at how many things and this is just a small list of the things that happened, and I'd only dug into a couple of them, like the Puma shoes and the British Airways, but yeah, it might be actually corroborating your concept here about a time hack.
Mm-hmm.
But so I thought you'd be interested to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah, I will look into those, and I will definitely look at that and see if it, like I said, it has to be. And there are some things there you said that were historic events. Every year has freaking historic events. I'm not taking that away.
Right.
I'm not saying that years don't have historic events. The reason why I focus on 1972 is because you would not be on the cell phone or on your computer at all without 1972.
Mm-hmm.
ARPA became DARPA in 1972. Bill Gates got his first company in 1972. The first AI robot was decommissioned in 1972. There's just so much stuff. ARPANET was in 1972, which became the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking, like, when I say about the stuff in 1972, and like people say, there's a lot of historical things in a lot of years. I agree. I've never said that that's not possible.
Right.
I'm saying that everything that is shaping your world right now, you can research it back to the year 1972 to have either a beginning or an ending. In other words, it's not something that is a continuous thing. It either began in that year or it literally stopped in that year. And then when I started noticing in 2020, there was things that either began or ended in 1972. They started all over again or ended in 2020. I was like, I thought for sure, I'm like, we're in a simulation. I'm like, because this is like a computer having a malfunction. I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense. I was like, there's too many things that began or ended in 1972, and then the opposite of it literally happened last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have enough time to connect all these to see if they did connect. But
I will do the research on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll do the research on it. I tell people all the time, it's not that go ahead. I'm sorry.
So maybe you stumbled on something that might not be a time hack, but maybe it's some kind of natural cycle that things just kind of come to fruition after 48 years. Maybe that's some kind of divine cycle or something. Who knows?
Okay, so in 20, it's not like so there are people out there who just do research on stuff, right? They just go and do research. Like they're trying to look for some type of conspiracy. This ain't even a conspiracy. First of all, a lot of people, they want to attach all these conspiracies and stuff to it. And I'm like, this isn't a freaking conspiracy, guys. Anybody can look it up. It's not something that's being hidden. It's right there. All the facts are right there. But what happened to me in 2017 was the reason why I saw these things. It wasn't that I just started looking them up. Like it after 2017, and I've put up the evidence on my channel. I show people in 2020. The beginning, first thing video I showed, I thought that literally when I put up the video of the alien evidence of the footprints going into my karate school when I was sleeping, and the marks that were on the wall, I thought that the government was just going to come and wipe me out. I thought, okay, this is it. So I held on to the information. I held on to the video for 3 years. Didn't talk about it. I covered it up because I didn't want people to, because I have a 4th degree in Kempo. I have a 4th degree in Taekwondo, and I have a black belt in the sword fighting art. And I've been on a television show in Japan and got a 10.4 rating. I have gotten a proclamation from the mayor of the city. And I can show proof of all this. I've been in front page newspaper many times as a community leader from my martial arts school that I own and I run. So and my ex-wife at the time was state champion. I had a lot of students that were state champions. Like, I was very popular in the area. So to say, look, there was a alien that come walking in my school when I was sleeping, people are just going to say, that guy's crazy, and they're going to take their kids or take themselves out of my school and go someplace else. So I kept it quiet for 3 years. Mm-hmm. I was just quiet about it, but it just got to the point where I could not, I kept seeing all these things and they were just connecting because my mind was unlocked. And I was just like, how do people not see this? And I was talking to, people who were close to me, and I was explaining to them, trying to make them understand it. And I was like, they're not getting it. And I'm just like, so I just put it up there online. I literally thought something was happening. Now, looking back in 2017, that was when Oumuamua came here from the Lyra constellation. And now that's all of a sudden a big deal. And looking back in 2017, all in the same year when the alien came to me in my school. In 2017, that's when Lou Elizondo or whatever decided to leave the government, and he was going to out all this information. In 2017, that's when they first started showing they released the videos of the Navy actually came out and said, yes, there are. And people can say, oh, well, that's not good enough information. I don't care. I literally don't care. You weren't in my karate school and had an alien come in there and come there and unlock your mind. So it doesn't matter, because the veil is going to lift like that. I mean, it's about to lift this year. And when it does, everybody's going to start to see very clearly what has happened. And they're going to talk about this time hack. I don't care what anybody thinks or what they say. They had to do this because 48 years ago, there was still problems when the aliens were out in the public. And people will think that's crazy. But, our government has been doing mind control for a very long time. In fact, what was that program? MK Ultra. They ended the funding for MK Ultra in the year 1972. Now, people say, well, it doesn't mean they quit doing it. I agree. The government's not going to put a lot of research into something, a lot of money. We're talking millions of dollars into something and just stop because they get caught. It's just like the Tuskegee thing. They got caught, so they say, hey, we stopped. In 1972, they got caught for weather warfare over in Vietnam. And that was Operation Popeye, which was chemtrails. I mean, guys, it's the stuff that happened in 1972 is major. We're not talking small. We have people today still complaining about chemtrails. Well, go back to 1972 and look at it. You know, that's when it was outed. There was a huge protest, actually at the Capitol, about, of all things too, over the chemtrails that they were doing in Vietnam.
Yeah. Wow. Well, RatX, I think that you need to keep pressing on because you got a new subscriber tonight. And that's Terry Hopper. RatX, I just subscribed to your channel. This is really interesting, and I feel you're onto something in your research. So don't give up. Keep going. Everything always takes longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah, I just want to I want to help the humans understand what has happened to you. I am not trying to, and like when you said earlier about, you know, you're not begging for donations. It's not about that, man. I am more than I'm more than happy to donate to channels. I don't ask for donations. I don't sell information. I don't put myself out there. I don't talk. I don't use my full name. I don't do any of those things because it's not about me. It's about the human race. It's about you guys. That's the reason why I push ultra neutral. If I was telling you that I had an alien come to me and I chose a political side and I said, hey, I'm a hardcore Democrat, or hey, I'm a hardcore Republican, and you are the opposing side to that, you would say, well, what the hell, these aliens you got talking to you, bro? What are they going to do with us then? You know what I mean? I'm telling you, I have been neutral my entire life. Being biracial, being raised by a lesbian woman who hated men. You know, when I say I'm neutral to all races, all genders, all cultures. I speak not fluently, but I speak close to 8 different languages loosely. You know, Korean, Chinese, Japanese. In fact, if you want to say good morning in Ohio, in Japanese, it's real easy because it's Ohio. If you want to say it correct, if you want to say it formally, you say Ohio gozaimasu. Yes. Yeah. So, and you know that because you lived in Japan. Didn't you?
No. Konnichiwa.
Oh, okay.
Konbanwa.
Yeah, konbanwa. Yeah. So, and in Russian, if you want to say hello, it's privyet. You know, so I love all the cultures. Yeah. And I don't have any bias towards anybody. And when you have a hard stance on something, I respect that. Mm-hmm. If you have a hard stance on that, you're a hardcore Trump supporter, I respect your passion and I respect what you believe because that is your free will to do. Yeah. If you are on the other side, I respect that. There are people who are racist and they literally hate me from one side or the other. They're like, because you're too black or you're not black enough. And I respect that. I have to respect other humans, their free will and what they want to believe. But I do not want to suppress them and tell them what they're supposed to believe. And this is one of the reasons why I think that I was actually chosen, which this has done nothing for me but make me poor, run everybody away from me, you know, but is to give the message, which is a neutral message to help unlock people's minds. And like I said, I have a video where I show all the stuff that happened in 2017. And I know people are going to say, oh, the Draconians are evil. How do you know? You ever met one? When you see when you see gargoyles over top of buildings that are these statues that are put up there, that sit up there, that are to ward off you know, evil from coming and trying to get into your castle or your homestead. What do you think a gargoyle looks like? It looks like a Draconian. I mean, it's like people you don't really understand the things that we're talking about unless you actually can. This has happened with the black people. It's happened with the Asian people in Vietnam. It's happened with the Native Americans here that they called Indians, that they called the red man, the yellow man, the black man. And now it's going to turn into, let's hate the green man. The problem is you guys need to understand the beings that you're about to face If you think that you're going to be able to fight them with your AR-15s or with whatever, or jets or anything like that, they can literally shut this whole thing down like that. They can shut it down. And I'm telling you, they time hacked. And if they can time hack, they can do it all over again. If people don't realize that we don't get into a neutral position when these beings come out, and I'm not saying, look, if there's beings that are come out and they're going to try to suppress us, yes, we fight. We fight to survive, because all this other crap about being a Democrat or Republican or black or white, all that's going to go away. You need to start on it now, because if there are beings that are going to come here and they're going to suppress us, yes, we have to fight to try to survive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said something that I don't believe. You said that your real name isn't RatX. I don't believe that.
1972 was the year. 1972 was the year of the rat, and I picked X because it was Generation X. So that's how I got the name RatX.
And now you got the RatX Files, which I think is a cool name too. RatX Files.
RatX Files. Thank you.
And you know, I've told you this, but you know, in high school, I had a car, my first drivable car, 1960 Rambler, which I painted flames and lightning bolts on. It was black, had dingle balls, and it was a crazy old Rambler. But it was nicknamed the Ratmobile, and I was known as the Rat Man. So I like that name, RatX. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. When the time comes when I start making everything about me, and it's just like, look at me and look what I've discovered and look what I'm doing for the humans and look what all. When I get to that point, everybody just turn me off and go the other way. This has done me a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to try to help unlock other people's minds so that way they can just start. What I want people to do is I want them to ask questions, to just say, how is this like the whole thing? Remember with the $1972? I'm still putting it out there. Anybody can produce a $1972, a paper dollar that was created in the year 1972. If it's not worth more than $48, I will pay you $48 for that $1 bill, because they do not exist. Because in 1971, Richard Nixon left the gold standard and went to a legal tender only. That happened in 1971. However, the first year that we were completely off the gold standard was in 1972, because in 1971 there were still dollars out there that still said that there were silver certificates or redeemable in gold coin. In 1972, that never happened, and the currency even changed in 1972. However, we can't even find the dollars. We can find 1973, 1974. We can see 1971, 1970, and so forth. But the year 1972 is like the currency didn't even exist. And I want people to ask questions. Why can't I find that dollar? People should be going nuts trying to figure out, why does the dollar not exist in 1972? What happened? You know, it's all of these things. Even CERN itself, right? Like, because you know CERN, you guys all know what CERN is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1972, CERN had an unexplained event that happened in 1972. The machine's intensity went up by over 1,000 times in the year 1972. They don't even know why it happened. Just they've been trying to get funding for the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland, France. But that, and you can look up the documents, because I have all the documents on it. Anybody can look it up. They were trying to get that deal to go through with France and Switzerland to build the Large Hadron Collider. They were turned down every single time. After 1972, when there was a 1,000 time intensity spike that they couldn't explain, all of a sudden, boom, they got the freaking contract for the Large Hadron Collider. And we know that led to the Higgs boson particle being discovered in 2012. In the name Higgs, the guy who created the internet, his name was Higginbotham. And CERN, the last guy to step on the moon was Jack Cernan, CERN. I mean, it's weird, man. It's bizarre. Even Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking's 1972. He published his paper on black hole event horizon theory in the year 1972. I mean, it's everybody that you know that's major, pretty much, they all can It's like all their roots go to that one year.
There's a new discovery about the engine that drives black holes that just came out this year. So that's interesting. And as you were talking about the dollar bill, I remembered something, because I remembered something else I told you about. It was something that Nixon did. But this is something else. I used to collect coins. And I remembered, wait a minute, 1972.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you this. Let me show you this.
No, I know that there's coins out there. I'm saying paper
no,
dollars.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
This is something different. I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you here. Because like I said, I collected coins. And so I remembered this as you were talking. There was a double die in 1972. And I had a bunch of them. And because my mom had some 1955 double dies that she said she spent right away.
I can't see it on my screen. What is it?
It's okay. It's a vintage 1972 penny worth $1,200 because it's double stamped. There's a double die line around the edge. It's like they stamped it and they said, "Oh, bring it back. We'll stamp it again." They stamped it again. And
is it 1972?
Yes, it is.
And it's worth over $1,000.
So one says, 1972 vintage penny, 1,200.
Jesus.
Another one says
$500.
5,000. Another one for 999. So yeah, very interesting.
We're gonna come rob your change drawer.
No, I don't know what happened to them.
Okay.
I thought I saved them, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Now, see the coins you can find online too, the 1972, but
right.
The paper money does not exist.
Yes, but double dyeing of a penny or any coin is very rare. So this is a rare occurrence. I mean, like I said, the only other time I remember from my knowing about coin collecting was 1955. So from 1955 to 1972, I think that was the only two that I can remember.
Aaron, don't they do that for a lot of misprints? They all got a value for like a double print or anything like that.
You mean like a dollar bill?
Well, no, also on coins. I've seen double stamped coins where they offer a good amount of money for trading, and that'll be like two images, not stacked on top of each other like the ones in the display, but maybe next to each other, or any kind of misprint is pretty highly valued.
Yeah, well, double dyeing doesn't really happen. It's very, very rare. And like I said, the only two times I can remember. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat. Can you see the pennies there?
Yeah.
Jake? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When you were talking, Rat, I was just remembered that I did notice that when I was a kid, and I just did a quick search, and turns out, sadly, I was right. And another thing I should have.
Okay, I can see it now. Sorry, I had to refresh my screen on my computer. I'm talking on my phone, and I got my computer going on there.
Okay, it's kind of hard to see the double dye. It's only on the edge, whereas the 55, you can see the whole thing was double dyed. But
yeah, no. Ask yourself this though: like you found that on the internet, but you can't find freaking paper dollars on the internet from 1972. You can't even find it. Somebody find me one, because I've been trying to get at least a picture of one to put it on one of my freaking videos, but you can't find it.
And you'll give someone $48, right?
Yeah, if they have a 1972 $1 bill, I will buy that dollar from you for $48. If it's not worth more. If it's worth more, I don't want to rip anybody off. It's not my nature. But if you find one that's a 1972 $1, then I will buy it off you for $48.
Okay. Now, Kelly George in the chat says, maybe, just maybe, if you know someone who was born in 1972, they might have a dollar bill in their baby book.
Oh, that could be possible.
Garage sales, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they exist, but if somebody can find one, the challenge is out there. Anyhow, I'm gonna have to get off here pretty soon, but I wanted to tell anybody who's listening. about what happened at the Serpent Mound last weekend.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
So when I tell you that what happened with me in 2017 with the draconian alien coming to me when I was sleeping, unlocking my mind, there is literally video evidence of the footprints there and marks on the wall. And I put a challenge out on that too. I said, recreate those prints because they were double layered. It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. The prints on the floor were double layered. There was like this film on the bottom of the footprint, and then around it was the dirt. So it was like it was double layered. And the marks on the wall were they were like a triple layer. They had that film at the very base of it, and then it had like this weird this muddy type. It wasn't mud though. It was like this weird, it's hard to explain. But inside of it was, and that was like a gold, like a greenish brown, like dirt or something. But it wasn't really, it wasn't dirt. And then inside of it was this gold fleckled dust inside of it. So after all that happened, and with everything that I've been exposed about the time hack in 2020. Somebody came on my channel and invited me out to Utah because they said that they teleported on their land from one point to another. And I said, and I at first I didn't really believe what she was saying. I was just like, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't believe. I just kind of was like, well, it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility, but I need more evidence. However, within a week, there was a bunch of things that were coming up that were telling me, things just kept coming to me and telling me that I need to go to this place. Now, I just came back from Alcor in Scottsdale, Arizona, like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have the money to even really go out there. And I had to take more time off work. So it was an inconvenience for me. And it was just not the right time. But I literally was guided to go there. And I said, if I go there, I need to be there for 72 hours because I will find the portal. And we went out there, and you guys can listen to the whole video on that. I got all that stuff on there. The lady, when I first got out there, was three of us. There was me, there was 1010, and a lady out there that invited us out there. When I got there, I automatically knew that she wasn't who she said she was. I can't tell you guys everything, and I can't tell you guys how I know things. But I knew that she was not who she said she was. And that all revealed itself at the end because it got really hairy at the end. And you already know that because I did the thing with you. We talked about that on here. So I'm going to make this short. So anyhow, 72 hours later, I found the portal. I found where there's a portal. And actually, I didn't tell you this before, but when our hands were on that stone, on this big rock, that I said, this is the portal. I felt like the rock was going to fall over. And I told Tintin, I said, and I told her and the other lady, the gatekeeper, I said, stop pushing on, it's going to fall over. But I really wasn't thinking about how big this thing is. No way it's going to fall over. Literally, I felt like I was falling into the stone. And I told Tintin, I backed up and I said, you are the navigator. Find the way in. And she immediately pulled out her phone and she just looked at it, and there was the Alcor star right in the center of that stone. Now that's 1,000,000,001 odds that would happen at that very moment. And we didn't try looking for the star constellation at all the entire time. And at that very moment I said it, there's the Alcor star constellation. Now, fast forward up to what happened last week. I was compelled to go out to, I kept putting off going to Serpent Mound many, many times. And I recorded the whole thing, my whole trip out there with my Truth Quest. I have Truth Quest 172. And I go out there, and on my way out there, it was apparent to me as things were happening that it was 72 degrees out. I was trying to find a gas pump because I was empty, and I ended up on pump one. And you can watch me drive around trying to get to a pump, and there's one where it was open. Pump one. I put the gas in. The thing shuts off at $72. That fills up my tank. I had to take route 71 to 72 to get to the Serpent Mound. And so I was thinking maybe, and I was like, I'll be there about 2 o'clock. I'm like, maybe I should be there at 2:17. So I was trying to rush to get there now to make it at 2:17 because I'm like, this is one of those things. And that's exactly what happened. So I get to the mound and I'm looking up in the sky for the Alcor constellation because I watched Ancient Aliens and they said that the Alcor star lines up with the Serpent Mound. Now remember, I'm connected to this star. So I am looking for it. I'm looking around. I can't find it. And it happens to be over to the east. But as I take my phone with the Skyview app and I look down, the freaking Serpent constellation is lined up on the mound, which means, and a lot of people don't understand this, and this is going to become a big talked about thing, because the people at the people who were the who run the Serpent Mound there, when I told them about this, they're like, they had no idea that this is possible, because anytime somebody looks for a constellation, they look up. You don't look through the earth. You just don't look down. But where do they say serpents are in under the ground? Well, on the mounds, through the ground to the other side of the planet, if you're looking directly up in the sky, you're going to see the Serpent constellation. It lined up on that mound. It's absolutely impossible for the ancients who had no knowledge of where the stars were on the other side of the planet to create that mound right there on that point. And it was exactly the time I said I had to be there. Also, at that very moment at 2:17, I think it wasn't exactly at 2:17. It was like a few minutes afterwards. There was a lady that was there who had dragon green eyes. She was born in 1972, and her husband was Native American. He was Shawnee, and they both came and they had both came up to me. Nobody else talked to me. Other said one other guy who was there, who was a healer, a spirit healer, and I told them that we need to look at 2:17. We need to look in the direction of where the Alcor star system is. And what happens like a few minutes after that, we hear a sonic boom, and we thought for sure that there was a UFO. But what it was like an F-15 or F-16, whatever. It was a military jet that literally, and you guys can see this on the video, it circled us over the Serpent Mound. We thought it just went past, and we're like, oh my, I was like, this thing is circling us. And they're like, yeah, it is circling us. The military thought something was going to happen. Trust me when I tell you guys, they are watching what I'm doing. They know about the Draconian coming to me. They sent me out to Utah to find the portal. And when I started broadcasting and saying I was going to go to the Serpent Mound, they were on it. They were like, is something going to, is the Draconians going to pop up? They are getting, guys, look, when people are like poo-pooing the disclosure that's coming out, the military doesn't disclose. They're not giving you guys all this information on aliens and UFOs and stuff because they just want to. They're being forced to do it. The military and the governments around the world are being forced to give up the information because they know the veil is going to lift this year. And you guys can see all of that stuff on video. And like I said, it's impossible for them to see that Serpent constellation through the mound, through the earth, and then to build it on that. It's insane. So I went back, and I'm going to cut this off here in a minute, but I went back the second day, which I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be going back to work because this is a 4.5 hour drive away from where I work at. But I was like, I'm going to go there and prove a point. And the point was going to be that when I get there at the Serpent Mound at 10 o'clock in the morning, that the Serpent constellation was not going to line up on that mount, proving that the app's not faulty. And in fact, I asked the lady at the thing that was there, and she said, yeah, that she knows about that app. But when I get there, the gates were closed and I couldn't get in. I was just about to leave, and I'm filming it too because I was telling people, I can't, it's somewhere over in that direction, but I can't see. And I was just about to leave, and the site manager shows up 2 hours early from work, catching me right at the moment I'm about to leave, and says, you can have the place to yourself. You're not supposed to be here, because I told her a story. She said, come on in and go ahead and do your research, and you're not even supposed to be here. And I filmed that too. I go in there, I go to the Serpent Mound, and I look, and no, the serpent is not on the mound. The rabbit constellation is on the mound, and then down the steps leading to the mound, the serpent is right down there, which meant that by 2 o'clock that day, in the next 4 hours, that serpent will make its way up the steps and right to that freaking mound, right where the rabbit is, and right on the mound. And that is absolutely impossible for the agents to be able to know that constellation would run through the ground, on the other side of the earth to come up there. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. The serpent, the Alcor star the serpent was under the mound. meaning on the other side of the earth. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I was going to make a point, but I forgot. When you're talking, you're so engaging. It's hard, it's easy to lose your thought because you're listening so intently. So that's why I think you should continue with your shows. I think it's a great thing. So welcome, Tara. Thanks for coming on board there. We see you. And let's see.
Okay, sorry.
Hi, guys. Go ahead.
I do want to point this out because this is also very important. There was a guy who was there at that very moment when I was at the Serpent Mound, who was out there with this healing bowl and like all this and these crystals and stuff, and he came all the way from Cambodia. And you can see the video. There are tons of people who walk by me. Nobody stops. Nobody cares. The only three people that talk to me is the lady with the dragon green eyes who was born in 1972, the Native American was Shawnee, and then this guy who is from Cambodia, who is a spirit healer. And I told him, I was like, do you know that the moment that you're out here doing this bowl and you're asking for the serpent to heal the world and heal everybody and all this stuff, that the serpent constellation is lined up on this mound? And he said, no. And I said, yeah. And I said, look, here it is. And I showed him on my phone. And his wife came over and her eyes started to tear up because it was a sign for them. Like this was huge for them and their beliefs. And he was like, and when he saw that, it empowered him to actually go and walk onto the mountain. Now, you're not supposed to go on the mountain. You're not allowed to go on it. But he went on the mountain and he went all the way around the mountain and he put crystals in the mountain. He did a whole like spiritual ritual thing, which I'm not really into a lot of different spiritual stuff, but this thing actually, that moment changed me. It definitely changed me because I really wasn't really into the stuff, but it's just like, how is this possible if this guy came all the way from Cambodia and like, it's a 1,000,000,001 odds with all of the stuff. It's too much. It's overwhelming. And when I'm explaining people about these things, I show evidence. And it's not just one thing on the Serpent Mount. It's also the Utah, which you already know that because you went through the story, which I was more than grateful that you let me come on, me and Tintin come on and talk about that story because yeah, it's crazy. But at least, I also have other people who were at a lot of the events and stuff that can say, hey, yeah, this has happened. And there's a lot more stuff, guys. I can't share everything with you, but there has been so much stuff that has changed for me in the last 3 years. And for some weird reason, now I know that I'm 100% connected to the Alcor star, which, by the way, means the forgotten one. I mean, it's not all that great, but there's been so many things. Like I've had people say to me, and are you manifesting things? Are you making things happen? Because I'll say something and all of a sudden something will happen. And I don't believe that at all. I used to explain it as maybe we're in a simulation and I'm just remembering things that you guys aren't, and then I'm able to say it's happening before it's happening. But I don't know all the stuff that's completely happened to me and what the alien did to me. But I do know I never felt threatened. I do know that it's changed me in a positive direction, but a very stressful direction. Very, very stressful because I am stressed out for the human race. And I am stressed out to the point to where I get to where I just want to give up. But then it's just like, it's not in my nature being a martial artist and sticking things out. And it's just not in my nature. And another thing too, when I want to bring up real fast, and I desperately got to go because I'm at work here, but I do want to bring up another thing too. When you look at martial arts comes from China. I mean, people are going to say, well, it comes from India, but whatever. I mean, that's where martial arts was flourished and became a big deal because they said some guy from India came and shared it with them, which is also very peculiar. Somebody from India, when India didn't really have a martial arts. So who was this guy from India? He wasn't a guy. I don't believe he was just a guy from India. I think it was from the Draco constellation. Dragon, that's the big thing in martial arts. It's always, the dragon has always been known to be wisdom. The dragon has always been known to be like it, like, because you have all the animals in kung fu, and the top of the animals is the dragon. It's the opposite. It's like it embodies all of the animals and it gives you all of the wisdom. And dragon, we equate that with Draco. So what do you have here? You have a country that has the smallest people, like the Asian, especially Chinese. They're small people, and the only reason that they've been able to hold on, back in, before pre-gunpowder everything, was because they had the martial arts. They were always going to be overpowered by almost anybody. But the martial arts, when I teach martial arts, I don't want big jacked up knuckleheads coming in there talking about MMA. I want people coming in who literally are at a disadvantage and are to believe that they're getting bullied or or worried that something could happen to them in some kind of way, that they're at a disadvantage, because we give them the tools and the means and the education to be able to overcome the odds. And that is the root of martial arts. The root of martial arts is not to fight in a cage. And I'm not dumping on cage fighters. The root of martial arts is not to do tournaments, and I'm not dumping on that either, because like I said, I have state champions in my school, as well as I've met and know Superfoot Bill Wallace, and I can show you pictures of me in Superfoot as well. But that's what the roots of martial arts is. It is to give you the tools, and that comes from the dragon. And people can say whatever they want, but I mean, I'm coming from a perspective of an instructor and somebody who's dealt with a draconian.
Now,
RatX.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Jake.
RatX. No, that's awesome. I think the main component in mixed martial arts that people overlook is self-defense, and I think that's one of the main key components. I also consider myself a mixed martial artist. Different practices than yourself, but yeah, no, I think it's awesome that you were talking about the serpent and the flying serpent. I was just recently talking to somebody about that, and I don't necessarily think the serpent should be classified as a negative thing that it's gotten from Christianity. And I just thought it was awesome, your view on it, and getting to hear that.
No, I appreciate it, man. That's people like you who have questions or who are open-minded, trying to understand things. That's all we can do, is try to understand things, instead of just going with what's popular to say. And like I said, I am not dumping on mixed martial arts. Those guys are phenomenal athletes, and they also prove to mixed martial artists that you can be jacked up and still do a lot of cool ass martial arts moves. Because before that, everybody said you have too much muscles, you wouldn't be able to perform those moves. And now, because of mixed martial arts, we know that that's not true. So mixed martial arts has had some really good impact on the martial arts world, because it's made people say, hey, I don't have to stop getting big muscles to train in martial arts. I can continue to do that. I mean, if you just look at Bolo Young, you could see how big and jacked up he was. And, Bruce Lee, he died in 1973, and, but anyhow, there's just, I try to keep it positive, and I'm just trying to get people to realize what's happening to them. And everything I present has evidence. Everybody can look it up. It's all backed up by proof, not just eyewitness accounts of things, but actually seeing evidence of things that happen, not just stories, evidence. That is all that matters. If I'm just giving you a line of crap, I'm wasting my time. I don't need to. I was very popular with everything else that I was doing. This has made me unpopular. I used to be an actor. I was a bodybuilder. I've done some commercials. Like I said, I was on Japanese television. Before that, I was a pro skater. I won the Warped Tour, and I should have won the Warped Tour in 2001. I skated when Alien Ant Farm and Sum 41 was there. By the way, I have videos and documentations of all of this stuff, of what type of person I was, the type of person. Now, this has changed my life, and it's put me in a direction to just serve the humans, and that's it. I've removed myself from what I was doing, and I've done nothing but focus on this. And I don't know any much more that I can do than what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned martial arts, and it's not just fighting. The one show that I used to watch as a kid, and I don't know, might have been 72. I don't know what year it was Kung Fu with David
Kung
Carradine.
Fu. I knew you was going to say Kung Fu.
That was a great show because he was a very peaceful man. The only time he fought was when he had to. And
He was ultra neutral.
He would find herbs and roots to eat. He never killed an animal to eat. He ate roots and plants and things.
Always walked barefoot.
Yeah.
Never wore shoes.
Very cool guy. And but now I know karate, jujitsu, and 6 other Japanese words. So I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so, and this is not me patting myself on the back, but for anybody who's listening, anyone can learn martial arts. And I've been telling people this for a very long time. There was a guy who came into my school, and he was in a wheelchair, and half of his body is paralyzed. The other half works. No senseis in the area around Cleveland area would teach him. They said he cannot be taught. They let him down easy and say, sorry, we can't teach you. I took him on it. I asked him, I said, can you lift your arm this way? He said, yes. I said, can you lift your leg that way? I said, yes. I said, here's your white belt. You're now a student. And his caregiver, her eyes teared up. And she's just like, you're going to teach him? I said, why wouldn't I teach him? If I was in a wheelchair, I would want to learn how to defend myself. I said, yes, he can use this arm and that foot, and I'm going to teach him, because I had to learn as a teacher how to teach him. And that's what's important. And because of that, he stayed with me, and I'm still teaching him. I teach him every Wednesday. He's been with me for almost 5 years. We were down and I got proof of this too. We were honored. Him and I were honored together downtown Cleveland at a closed event where there was where 2 baseball players for the Indians were there who were honored. A player from the Browns was honored, and somebody from the hockey was honored. And they honored him, and they honored me as his sensei for the termination and keep going. And he was a brown belt at the time, working to get his black belt. And it was a beautiful thing. And they gave him a big award. And I think there was a radio station there that was asking me some questions, and I think Fox 8 News was there. So then when he got his black belt, because of what happened there, Gerard Cherry, who is, I think, 3-time Super Bowl champion from the New England Patriots. By the way, guys, I have pictures and proof of me standing next to Gerard Cherry with my student who's in the wheelchair getting his black belt, with another student of mine who's an amazing, phenomenal martial artist who got his black belt that day too, and he's legally blind. And Gerard Cherry came to witness his black belt test, and he's Super Bowl champ. He didn't have to do that, but he came to come and witness it. And in that day, actually, iHeartRadio called me, and I did a big interview on there too. Now, everything that I'm telling you guys, I have 100% proof of who I am and what I was doing. And all of that stopped because of what's going on with the draconian and my mind being unlocked. Now, ask yourself, why would I walk away from all of this stuff? Well, I mean, I still teach Scott, the guy in the wheelchair, and I still teach my 1 black belt, but he teaches all the rest of the school because I just don't have time. Why would I walk away from all of that stuff to just be ridiculed, laughed at, poo-pooed on, told, being misdirected, now 100% the eye of Sauron from the government is focused on me hard, and they do not leave me alone. They're all over me all the freaking time with a lot of stuff. I'm literally every day. It's like, is this going to be the last day? And I'm dealing with that all because of what happened in 2017, and all because I'm trying to push something of positive and trying to help lift the veil in a positive direction. And I'm not telling anybody that, hey, if the veil lifts and aliens come here and they want to suppress you, to just give in. I don't believe that at all. I say, if that's going to happen, fight. But I damn sure don't think it's draconians, because why in the hell would they unlock my mind? And for me, of all people, somebody who is a very compassionate person, somebody who doesn't kill animals, somebody who will swerve if there's a butterfly, as long as I'm not getting in a car accident, somebody who, the closest person to me has autism. Why would they come to me and not some asshole jerk? that's, that is the opposite of that. Somebody who likes to hurt people, to inflict pain, somebody who's cruel, somebody who's going to try to suppress you and tell you to join, one cause. I'm not saying any of that. So why in the hell would they come to me? Because I would be the counterproductive for what they would want if they had evil intentions. So, and that's why I say about the dragon and about martial arts and all that. So we need to step back and we need to take a look at what's really going on. Because, and I do need to get off here, but
Right.
because for in history, they looked at, the Native American, when they came here, they called them savages. They said all kinds of nasty things about them. They made crazy cartoons about them. They made in front of them. They said that they're bad people. And now look where we are today. We don't look at them like that. The same thing happened with the black mammy and calling black people, porch monkeys and all that. And now look where we're at today. I mean, there's still racism and hatred, but there's a lot less of it now.
Yes.
And it's because over time, we realized that the people that we were afraid of, that we didn't know very well, then, over time, we started realizing, hey, we made mistakes, but how much damage was done to get there? And the same thing with Vietnam. And if you guys don't really know how bad the things happened in Vietnam, look up 1972 Winter Soldier. Just go watch the 1972 Winter Soldier movie. It changed Vietnam history, because that was when, in that year, in 1972, they exposed, soldiers came out and exposed all the war crimes they're doing. They're talking about they stabbed women in the breast and
we need to
gutted them all the way up. Okay.
We don't need to get into the gore. I don't want to get.
All right. So, but what I'm saying is, you guys get the point. We hated the red man. We hated the black man. We hated the yellow man. Now, what is the green man? I mean, come on. We need to take a step back first and see what we're dealing with before we get into this, listening to what the mainstream is saying. Oh, yeah, the reptilians are running the government. Well, if they're running the government, then why are they getting people prepared to fight them? That don't make any damn sense. That's idiocy. They would be trying to go the opposite way. So anyhow, I do got to get off here. I got to get some sleep.
All right. Thanks, Rat. Yeah, we're going to close this up pretty soon too. But thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you again. And everyone, go sign up to his channel. What's it called again?
RatX 172. RATX 172.
RatX 172. I'll write that in the thing.
And I appreciate everybody listening and being open-minded. And literally, guys, I'm doing everything I'm doing for you guys. It's not self-gratification at all. It's literally for you, for all of the humans to try to understand what's happening. It's for all of you.
And you know how you can tell when someone is an agent is they never donate. So if someone's donating, they're probably not an agent. So this is going to make all the agents want to donate to you. So you'll be able to find them backwards.
Yeah, I don't take donations. I don't everything's on my own dime, my own time. And that's it's like I said, I'm doing as much as I can for everybody else. I don't, and I don't tell people to like, share, and subscribe on my channel either. But I tell people to come on your channel and donate, like, share, and subscribe, because I support your channel in that way.
Thank you. Well, and
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think people should sign up to your channel too. So go over there and sign up.
All right, guys. Good night. It was,
all right.
Thanks for having me.
RatX. Thanks for calling.
Good night, RatX.
Wow, he sure can say a lot in a short period of time. He's quite a guy with a lot of ambition and drive. Very, very interesting. What'd you think of all that?
I've got 100 questions for RatX right now. I was trying to sit patiently and let him get his message out. I'm curious to if he has ever seen the footage of some of the old Charlie Chaplin footage with people raising their arms, looking like they were using cell phones. I also was curious to with the 48-year correlation, if it has anything to do with our military advancement. Mm-hmm. And more than anything, at the end of it, when he was talking about his mixed martial arts experience and training other people, I related to that really well. I teach my students how to in wrestling, and some jujitsu, not so much these days. But in most wrestling, we teach wrestlers how to wrestle with a blind opponent, and you have to keep constant contact. There's a certain set of rules, and it's just interesting to see how people will count out somebody with a disability, like they can't do mixed martial arts. And it's good to see other coaches in mixed martial arts doing the same thing.
Awesome. That's very awesome. Well, folks, it's getting kind of late here. It's after midnight here, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much, Jacob, for calling in. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys were great. And I thank you, Dark Brain, for putting the link there for RatX's channel. I also put a link further up, if you scroll up, the episode of Truth Quest where RatX and 1010 were on. So check that out too. High energy guy, and he is a ninja, and he's like built. He's like a pretty amazing guy. Well, Jacob, I wish you luck on your next show. Everyone sign up for Jacob Waters too. And we'll all be seeing you later the next time we broadcast. Remember, Sundays, 3 to 5 Central, 4 to 6 Eastern with Andrew DiBasciago.
Welcome. You can call me RatX, the ultra neutral, the one from 72. Doing more and more research and more digging, it now is more apparent to me that we are in a natural reality dealing with an alien species that has hacked time. And because of that, they have left a huge piece of evidence, which is the year 1972, and how that year actually connects to the year 2020, and how I am the only person in the world that is educating people and bringing the message and was able to predict the election in 2020 through great detail, as well as other predictions that also came true that have to do with looking at the year 1972 and the time hack and how it affected the year 2020 and will lead us into civil war, as well as a galactic war that is clearly upon all of us that is coming down. And you'll see that evidence by coming here and looking at the evidence that I present. I'm also going to be teaching you things about how flying saucers work, things about different alien species like the reptilians, the Anunnaki, and about the Greys, because I myself had a reptilian experience where my mind was unlocked, and that is one of the great reasons why I'm able to present all of this knowledge, because up until the year 2017, when my mind was unlocked, not long after that, I was starting to able to see the holes in the reality, see all the connections of the things that were going on that led to a time hack, which tells us learn from them and push forward as humanity, and not to suppress one another and suppress our own species. So if you're ready to have your mind unlocked, if you're ready to receive the message that nobody else in the world is talking about, if you're ready to see the truth, if you're ready to understand and look at the evidence, then welcome to RatX Files.